Hello everyone. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back today with another video, and in today's video, we are going to talk about how to overcome self-worth accomplishment contingency. What is self-worth accomplishment contingency, you might ask? That is where we derive our self-worth from the things that we have achieved. And if we're not achieving enough in the time that we feel that we should be, then we start to feel down on ourselves, and it can really sabotage our whole vibe going forward. So where do we get our self-worth from? Where should we look to get our self-worth in ways that are going to be supportive of us? That's what I'm going to talk about a little bit in this upcoming video. But first, as always, if you have not yet done so already, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel, like my page, and if you are not yet familiar with me and my work, my name is Arden Lee, and I am the creator of the Repatterning Project, and that is an 8-week online course in belief hacking, examining our patterns, and popping the hood and really seeing about all the ways that we make our unconscious choices and our habits that we have and that we integrate into our lives on a daily basis, so that we can examine the things that we're doing, look out and zoom out over our overall patterns and make those corrections that are going to be those simple internal hacks that are getting us on our path to our self-actualization. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, go ahead and check out the description box, where I have a link to a free PDF guide about the Repatterning Project. And I also have a link to the Repatterning Parlor, which is a Facebook group that I moderate, full of individuals who are also on their own journeys toward personal growth, happiness, abundance, wealth, self-improvement, and being of service to others in the world. So go ahead and check those things out. And for now, yeah, we're going to jump into talking about self-worth accomplishment contingency today. So much of this becomes ingrained in us when we're very young, particularly in our school environments, especially high school, but even in grade school too. You know, when we came home to our parents and we showed them our report cards, you know, and their reactions to us were sometimes based on what grades we had on our report cards. If we got an A, they were really happy, they were proud of us, they took us out for pizza or whatever it was. And if we failed a class, they were disappointed in us. So at that young age, we learned, our brains learned, we formed a pattern to think of our accomplishments, you know, how well we're doing out in the world, and to anchor that to whether we're getting approval or disapproval, especially from our parents or our major caretakers at that time, who at that time in our youth, we literally depended on for our survival. So again, remember, our parents' disapproval is more than just, you know, especially when we're that young, it becomes so much it's about so much more than just, oh, you know, mom or dad, you know, is happy with me or not happy with me. It's actually wired to like, wow, I rely on this person's love to survive. So if they're upset with me, on some level, on some unconscious level, I'm registering that, and it's causing fear, it's causing anxiety, because this is the person who puts a roof over my head and puts food on the table and sends me to school every day. So I need to make sure that they're pleased with me in order for my place in the household to be safe. Now, that might not actually have been true. Your parents might not have kicked you out of the house if you got bad grades, but there still is that internal wiring that says, you know, that it's natural, it's biological, and it says, I need my parents to love me and approve of me if I am going to survive. And that's what we're wired for, evolutionarily speaking. And then as we get into high school, it gets even worse, because all of a sudden we have to not only get good grades, but we're also expected to, you know, engage in however many extracurricular activities are possible for us. We're expected to win awards in sports or in speech and debate, or volunteer with, you know, the local community service corps at our school, because we're encouraged to do this, because the more extracurricular activities we have on our high school resume, the more that colleges are going to be interested in accepting us. And of course, if you're anything like I was when you were in high school, everything in high school was all about, you know, curate your whole high school experience so that it looks good on your college application, right? It got to a point too where sometimes it wasn't enough just to get good grades, because there are so many students competing for those top spots at those top colleges, that you also had to have, as I said, all the extracurricular activities to make you look well-rounded, right? That was like the big key word, was like well-rounded. So we set these patterns and we start thinking, if I'm not producing enough, if I'm not making enough content, if I'm not putting my work out there in the world, if I'm not accomplishing things, if I'm not achieving things, if I don't have that corner office by age 30, if I don't get that promotion, if I'm not, earning that bigger paycheck, then that says something about me and my worth. And certainly, we live in a capitalistic society that does not want us to break free from this pattern, because of course it wants people who are going to work harder and harder for less and less and less. If you guys read that piece on, I think it was on BuzzFeed, it was on millennial burnout. There was this sort of unpacking of how millennials as a generation have been expected to work harder, work longer hours, have less distinct boundaries between what time is work time and what time is off time, personal time, and how that contributes to this sort of hamster wheel that we're running on, where we just keep producing more and more and more, and we never get to take a break. We never get to take that time for ourselves, that time off, and it never actually results in the acclaim or the promotion or the the ultimate payoff of having a sustainable life that we're working for, if we're working for other people especially. So first of all, understand that this is a very ingrained pattern in society. So I don't say that to discourage you. I actually say it to free you, because once you realize what that pattern is in society and the way that it is set up to condition you to work harder and produce more, then you can start to look at that and you can start to free yourself of it. You can start to break out of it. I think what's really interesting for me in particular is that, as part of my story, I absolutely dealt with self-worth accomplishment contingency for a long time. And there were times that it actually did spur my productivity. It motivated me to create, it lit that fire under me to make things. But what I found was that, time keeps going. And, we make something and we ride this wave for a little while, like, wow, I made a thing, here it is, it's come out into the world. And then time marches on, and slowly, it's forgotten about, or that buzz, that hit, that feedback that we get from the compliments or the praise that we're receiving about our work we start to actually like dull our senses around it. We start to become so used to that becomes our baseline. And all of a sudden, when we're not receiving that praise for our work, it starts to feel bad, right? Because that's where we're getting our sense of approval from, our sense of validation. So what I would love to encourage you to do is to make a shift, make a shift in your mindset where you're getting your sense of self-worth and your sense of approval and your sense of belonging from your close relationships. You want to make sure that you're really cultivating good, supportive friendships with people who believe in you and who love you and who want to engage in co-nurturance and mutual support with you, regardless of what you're producing. If you're surrounding yourself with a social circle that is only interested in you because of your work and because of what they think they can get from you by hanging out with you, that's going to end up being a really toxic kind of equation. If you have a social circle full of supportive people who love you, no matter if you're on the top of the New York Times bestseller list, or if you're, in bed with mono for a year, or going through a crippling family crisis or divorce that means that your output is not what it normally would be when you're feeling well, then you're going to have so much more of a sense of unconditional love, unconditional support, and that support is going that mindset of support, and as well as the physical support that you are receiving, is going to take you so much farther throughout the rest of your life, through all of your ups and downs. It's going to remain consistent instead of keeping you on this roller coaster of either I'm getting praise for the thing that I just created, or I'm stuck, I can't create anything, or the thing that I created is now, gee, a year has gone by and everyone's forgotten about it, or whatever? Am I just, a content producer on a never-ending hamster wheel, just churning more and more out into the void, putting out more and more into the world just to keep getting that fixed? And not only is it no way to live, but it's actually counterintuitive, because you're going to produce so much more work, and work of quality, if you're really creating from the heart, if you're really creating from that desire to sustain yourself, right? If our work comes back from this place of, if the results of our work are coming back to us, our return on our investment that basically works so that we're creating work from a heart-centered place of inspiration, so that we can put it out there and so that we can start creating a life that's going to sustain us. That's going to be so much more truthful. It's going to make our work so much better, and it's going to make our own motivation for our work that much more truthful and authentic and real and grounded. What we want to do is we want to create work in the world that is going to touch people in the way that we want to make change in the world, and is also going to give us a return on our investment to start supporting us, so that we can accept and receive support for the work that we are putting out there, right? So we can sustain ourselves with our passion, right? So much of what we do here is about creating lives that are fulfilling for us, based on being able to create a life where we get to do things that we enjoy, even in this capitalist hellscape that we live in, getting to make a life out of something that we're good at, that we're passionate about, that people need in society, and that feels important, and that we can receive support for. That sustains us. So getting rid of sourcing your approval, it's almost like sourcing your approval from your accomplishments actually taints the quality of your accomplishments, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So if you start to do it for yourself, to sustain yourself and get your approval from your friends and family members around you who are going to love you no matter what, make sure you have friends like that in your life. And if you don't, it's a good time to start. It's a good time to start looking around you and really asking yourself, hey, who's really here for me when the shit hits the fan? Who can I count on in my life to be there and to support me when I need them? When you start looking at that and you start creating those social circles for yourself that are based in those mutually authentic friendships, you're going to need less and less support from your work. So thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful.